Hey everyone, it's Jonathan and welcome back to Every Version Ever. This week we're going all the way back to Pinocchio. Of all the stories to make a Christmas-themed adaptation out of, Pinocchio seems like the least likely, but here we are. Pinocchio's Christmas is a 1980 Rankin Bass Christmas special. Yes, the same Rankin Bass that brought you Rudolph and Frosty. This is one of their lesser-known stop-motion Christmas specials, probably because it's kind of a bizarre sell and it doesn't really have the timeless appeal of characters like Rudolph and Frosty. And there are so many other Pinocchio adaptations out there. Plus, this one obviously can't stand up to the high bar that Disney set 40 years earlier. However, as far as Christmas adaptations of existing stories go, this was actually better than I expected. Joining me to talk about all the strange choices in this thing are Mark Brown and Nicki from Trivial Theater. They had both joined me to talk about some bizarre Pinocchio adaptations in the past, so I figured why not bring them back for one more. This kind of surprised me in that for a while I was like, they're actually being pretty faithful to parts of the book that don't usually get adapted. And then it went and did its own thing.
I was actually going to ask you because obviously, the Disney Pinocchio is kind of the not the gold standard, but like the standard that most people go to when you're talking about Pinocchio. And I was actually curious, like, obviously Jiminy Cricket is probably a name that Disney came up with, but some of the other stuff, it's like, okay, is this like I was watching this and some parts of this because I watched it after watching Pinocchio. You kind of look at it and go, okay, this kind of feels like one of those rip-off movies that comes out like about the same time as any big Disney or DreamWorks movie.
Mhm.
Ratatouille.
Yeah, oh my, yeah. Oh, man. That
I
is a
didn't see it,
throwback in
but
it. Oh, I
yeah,
have. It's
I'm sorry.
yes. It's actually the best one of some of those.
Oh well.
Don't know what that says.
I've never seen it, but I'm planning to do a podcast on it whenever I get to Ratatouille in the lineup.
Oh dude, I want to be there for that one because any of those that there's I can't think of the studio name. There's like two or three studios that specialize in those kind of like rip-offs. And they're just the worst. Absolute worst. Like the animation would have been cool about 1987.
It looks bad even if it had come out in 1987.
You're not wrong. It would have been more in line with the animation, though, that you would have been like, okay, well, this is clearly, up to date. It's not, 20 years out of date. Oh, man. Not the worst kind of kids animation piece you could find, because there's some doozies, but yeah, right up there in the, yeah. Oof.
Well, back to this ripoff. Not that this is a ripoff per se, because I feel like this is better than I expected it to be.
Me too, I agree.
Uh, maybe.
Nicki had higher expectations
I,
than
I
us.
had I don't know what I had going into this, but like the animation was right up there with normal Rank and Bass stuff, but the story just I don't know. It felt like they cut away to songs where they didn't know what else they were going to do, and it just
That is true. There
I
was a lot
can't.
of filler songs.
Oh my God, I was sitting there like we just finished a song 2 minutes ago. You're going back in. How were the? It felt like there was like 15 songs in this, and there's like only eight.
I noticed that there was a lot of songs because I found it that I didn't have to pause the movie very much to take notes because I could start taking notes while they were doing a song and I would be done typing by the time the song was over.
And the movie itself is like what, 48 minutes?
Yeah, it would have been an hour probably back in the day.
Oh yeah, with the commercials, yeah.
Yeah. Well, being it was 80, I feel like it would probably, I don't know, I feel like it should have been a little longer given the, commercials in the 80s. They didn't quite have the level of them that they do now. But yeah, it would have been right around 48, 50 minutes.
I think for me, I think the only Rankin Bass special I've seen was the Rudolph. So I don't really have a lot of experience with like what I was expecting this to be. So I think that's why it's kind of met my expectations,
Oh,
or
no.
maybe even superseded it. But again, I didn't really know what to expect.
No, that's fair. That's 100% fair.
Yeah, I didn't really grow up with the Rankin Bass specials. I watched a few of them. I know I watched Rudolph,
Mhm.
and I know that even as a kid, I didn't like Rudolph.
Really?
I thought it was boring and dumb. I haven't
Fair.
watched it since I was a kid, so I don't know how I feel now. But
Yeah.
going into this, I expected it to be boring and dumb, and I was pleasantly surprised that it was entertaining enough. It was not great, Like, I wouldn't watch this again unless somebody really, really wanted to see it. But it wasn't horrible, which I think is why I didn't have a bad opinion going out of it.
Oh no, and that's
Same.
fair, 100%.
Like for me, even though there were a lot of songs, I didn't think any of the songs were like particularly bad. Like I
No,
kind
they
of
were
like
decent.
they were decent. Like I enjoyed them, or even if they weren't like the best written, like there was still something funny in the background that kept me interested. There are a
Hmm.
lot of other animated things that have filler songs that, you know, even Frozen with what's the song I hate? Fixer Upper, for example.
Oh,
Absolutely, I abhor that one. But like every song in this one, like I could tolerate it at least.
That's fair. I guess I don't know, like Rankin Bass for me was a big part of my childhood, so like my
Yeah,
expectations
that
of
yeah.
something like, Santa Claus is coming to town or Frosty or Rudolph, they just like there's that top tier that has ones like this, and then there's like that next tier down, which is like the sequels, like the second Santa Claus movie, or there's another Frosty movie or pieces like that, or even like Mad Monster Party, which isn't bad, it's just not quite as good. I don't know, I felt like this would have been served better. And again, this is looking at it as an adult, not as a kid by any stretch. It almost felt like they should have broken it out into maybe shorter bits, because it was almost like episodic in the way that it kind of approached things.
that is true.
Yeah, like you could clearly break it up into like 8 parts or something, and it would be like a good spot to break it up.
Just the way it was like, oh, well, Pinocchio's doing this. Oh, he's gonna go do that. It just, and I'm not looking for like deep storytelling by any stretch, but it just kind of, I don't know. Like, I appreciate that you guys enjoyed it much more than I did, but
Well, like I said, I didn't love it, but it was passable.
I could watch it again. I don't think I'll go out of my way to watch it again, but
Yeah.
yes, I could watch it again. What is the Rankin Bass special that has Burger Meister Burger?
that is Santa Claus is coming to town.
No, okay, I never seen that one.
Mhm.
I think I've seen that because I remember that name. But again, I was a kid, so I don't remember it. I just remember Burgermeister Meister Burger.
The most epic character name ever.
Oh, it's awesome. It's one of the top ones of all time by any stretch
Yeah.
or by any correlation. So, yeah.
I don't know where they got the idea to turn Pinocchio into a Christmas story. It seems kind of strange, but if you have to turn it into a Christmas story, I feel like they did a decent job translating the different elements into Christmas themed elements.
Yeah, because like when the movie started, like I thought, oh, maybe Rankin Bass made another Pinocchio special before, then this is like the Christmas version of it. But as the movie kept going, it's like, oh no, this is actually pretty much the first and only telling of Pinocchio, but with Christmas thrown in.
Yeah.
So it was like, huh.
Yeah, no, I can certainly see that. They did a good job of translating the material. The script was like what they did with the elements was good. It just there was something about the combination that was a little random. But yeah, I mean they did a good job with the character voices, and they were accurate to Pinocchio at the time. He wasn't portrayed as devil, he wasn't portrayed as angel. He's just a kid that likes to, go off and he gets into mischief and calls it a day.
One of the songs that Geppetto sings, I like. He's like, when he was good, he was very, very good. When he was
Yep.
bad, he was very, very bad.
Well, that's what you get when you paint a saucy smile on somebody.
I guess so. You're just asking for it at that point.
I think this Pinocchio is more in line with the Disney version of Pinocchio because the Disney version of Pinocchio is very innocent. The book version of Pinocchio, he's bad. Like he's a
Really?
bad kid.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. Walt Disney specifically made an effort to tone down the mischief of Pinocchio in that film.
I found it one of the elements of toning it down is the inclusion of the cricket. In the book, Pinocchio murders the cricket.
Oh God.
Oh
He
yeah, yeah,
straight
yeah.
up murders
Yeah.
him.
Oh, my
He steps
goodness.
on him.
Oh, that's so rude.
He's not. The cricket isn't a main character. Only Disney made him a main character.
Right, right.
Yeah, in the book, he is murdered, but he returns later as a ghost. And I think that's where Disney got the idea to turn him into the conscience because the ghost tries to lead him in the right direction. But no, in the book, he is murdered. And in this version, he just tosses a book at him and makes him leave.
Is Jiminy Cricket the ghost of Christmas Past in Mickey's Christmas Carol?
He is.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I didn't think about it that way, but
There we go.
I don't know if it was meant to be a nod to the book Pinocchio or not. having him be a
Maybe.
ghost. I never thought about that before.
Yeah, you just mentioned it, and I'm like, huh, I wonder if that's on purpose.
It could be.
But I love how this cricket is like really New York.
Aren't all crickets New York?
That's true. Well, no, we're here in Florida. We got a lot too.
There's a lot in Iowa also.
Absolutely.
There we go. All over.
I think the thing that entertained me the most in this was the cat.
Poor cat. The poor cat.
In this version, she's a girl, which they do that sometimes. They sometimes make the cat a girl in other versions, but in the ones that I've seen, they usually make her smart. In this version, she's a girl and she's still an idiot,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
I
no, the poor thing.
enjoyed.
I felt bad. I love the Let Lightning Strike Me Down song and the
Yes.
poor cat. Poor cat. This is the one getting struck down all the time. It makes you kind of sorry for her. Not fully, but kind of.
Yeah, in this version, their plan is to, well, their first plan. They have multiple plans, but their first plan is to kidnap him to sell him for a ton of money to a wealthy person as a Christmas present for their child. And they actually do the tricking him into planting his coins from the book, which not a lot of
okay.
versions do that. So I thought that was interesting that they kept that in this version, which was that was the first point where I was like, oh, they're really sticking to the book with this. And then later they didn't. But at least for the first half, they stuck closer to the book than I expected. But in this version, they say it's going to grow into a Christmas tree instead of just a regular tree,
Mhm.
which you got to keep it in the Christmas theme.
In the book, does Pinocchio is he part of the gang with the fox and the cat, like how they imply he is in this version, or like he was at one point?
Not really. Like
I
they
couldn't
trick him
remember.
into doing bad things, but in this version, it seems like they're more close than
Yeah.
they were in the book because they have the scene where they're talking about them teaching him how to borrow apples and play hooky from school, which I don't think there's like they don't like teach him how to play hooky from school. That just happens because of their evil plans in the book.
And the saucy look in his face.
But they also have, and again, like I've said in past versions, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce the name Mangiofuoco, which translates into the Fire Eater. Here they have him called Maestro Fire Eater. It would be Stromboli in the Disney version.
Oh, okay.
But they have him putting on a Christmas extravaganza puppet show, which is how he gets tangled up with Pinocchio, having him be part of this. And Pinocchio, he does end up doing the play because the plan with the Christmas tree fails, obviously. I I should explain how they tricked him into planting his coins. They told him that they fell from heaven after talking to an angel. And the angel told them to tell Pinocchio to plant his coins and make them grow into a tree. And I loved later when the fox and the cat go back to dig up the coins. The cat is confused, wondering why they don't wait till the tree grows and take the coins then. And the fox says that was just a story to trick Pinocchio. And the cat says, that's not very nice of the angel.
The cat was hilarious.
Yeah, very funny. And the cat is actually the one that came up with the angel.
Oh, really? I can't remember.
I love how dumb she is.
Yeah, she's been on too much of the catnip.
That's what happened there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Too many lightning strikes too.
absolutely. It doesn't help.
Nah.
It's like every other lightning strike. Like if she would have gotten one more lightning strike, she would have been quite smart. But
She got the 9 lives, so I don't know which one she's on right now.
it's 3.5 at this point.
Okay, it's in the middle, yes.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, because they took his coins, he doesn't have money anymore, and he was going to use the coins to buy a Christmas present for Geppetto. So that's why he goes off to join the Christmas puppet show. And then is the song that they sing, Let 'Em Laugh. I know there's a different song that sounds similar, but I can't remember where I've heard it.
Let Him
Like
Laugh's a
Make
big
'Em
song in
Laugh or
Sing.
something.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, and
Make
Make 'Em
'Em Laugh.
Sing in
It
the
was it that one? Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you're
Singing
right.
in the Rain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Make 'em laugh. Something,
Yeah.
something, 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 make 'em laugh.
I have not heard that song in a while. Is it the same song with different lyrics, or is it just similar?
Different lyrics, I think.
I know it's different lyrics, but I didn't know if the music was the same
It
because it
sounds,
reminded me so much of that.
it does sound sort of like that, yeah.
But during the show, he befriends another marionette, Giulietta. And this reminded me of that other version that Mark and I talked about, the Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night, because there was
I've
there was
forgotten much about
another.
that.
I mean, as bizarre as it was weirdly forgettable. But there was a girl marionette in that version that was eventually brought to life as well. So I thought it was weird that this also had it. And I feel like that was in the 80s too. So I don't know if this is a situation where two different people had the same idea and one got theirs out first, or if maybe the other one saw this and was like, well, I'll do that too. I'll put a girl puppet in mine. I just thought it was odd that two different versions of Pinocchio in the 80s had this same similar idea.
Didn't the Tom Hanks one have that too? Oh no, that was a real girl, wasn't there? I forgot about. I tried to forget that movie as well.
I think there was one that Pinocchio asked his father to make him a girlfriend, but I don't think it ever actually happened.
Mm.
I think it's just these two from the 80s that we've now talked about that had it. I don't remember it from any other version. I can't remember what the name of the character was in Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night. I'm going to look it up because now I'm wondering if it was the same name.
Yeah, I totally forget the movie. I just remembered Natsu was in it and James Earl Jones.
That's right. I forgot about that. Well, it was 87, so that's long enough that they could have watched the Rankin Bass version and thought they could just take the idea.
Well, since this one was not one of their main specials, I can imagine that it probably seemed like an easy thing to pick.
It could have been. I forgot. The puppet's name was Twinkle, so they didn't take the name. I forgot.
Well, that's good.
That's a strange name to give a puppet, but it was a strange movie. So
It's
It fits then.
then after the show, Pinocchio discovers the way they make this maestro evil. Instead of burning the puppets, he just reuses them, which is far less evil than, I mean, it's not exactly even
is
evil.
it?
They frame it as if it's evil because it makes sense if you
He's just
have a
recycling.
budget. Yeah. Like if you need another puppet, why not just redress one that you already have instead of buying a whole new puppet?
I think
But
that's how the Muppets work.
in some cases,
Yeah.
but Pinocchio is very disturbed to find out that Juliet is doomed to become one of the wise men in a nativity play.
There's nothing frankincense about her.
So he steals her and runs off. And then Maestro sends the police after him, but he escapes into the Forest of Enchantment, which stops the police because they're terrified that the forest is haunted.
As opposed to the Enchanted Forest.
Yes.
Two total different forests.
Well, see, you take a left, it's one, and you go right, it's the other.
That's what happened, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You make a left at Albuquerque, and there you go.
Yep.
Wrong one.
But then this is where you get the beginning of the story because Pinocchio explains his backstory to Juliet.
Mhm.
And they actually include the character Master Cherry, who is almost never included in versions of Pinocchio. He's the person who originally had Pinocchio before giving him to Geppetto. Except in the book, Geppetto and Master Cherry have a fight, like a knockdown, drag-out brawl, and they did
Wow.
not include that.
He's too old now for that.
The fact that Pinocchio is ticklish without a mouth is pretty funny.
I wonder how Master Cherry feels now that he sees Pinocchio is up and about in the town and walking. And he's like, oh man, I should have kept him.
I'm just imagining him looking, like peering out of a top window, just his eyes looking out the window,
Sneering.
kind of shivering in fear. It's like,
Oh,
there is
shivering.
that haunted log walking around.
He still talks.
Well, maybe he thought if he hadn't turned into Pinocchio, maybe he could have become the Red and Stimpy like the toy log.
I never seen Ren and Snoopy. Sorry.
Oh no, well sorry. No, it's okay. There's a popular toy called Log. It's just a log, and you can play with it and do all kinds of things with it, and
Oh, nice,
it's got a
nice.
really catchy theme song. Log, log, it's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's log, log, it's better than bad, it's good.
Hey, I'd buy it.
I would too.
I mean, if in the 70s you had a pet rock thing going on, I can't see how logs
Absolutely.
are any
Yeah,
different.
90s, you have a pet log, you have a pet log.
There you go.
That actually seems like something that somebody could get away with if they marketed it correctly.
Yes.
Sell it on Etsy, put googly eyes on it.
Oh
Just
God.
log.
Googly eyes does make everything better.
That's how Pinocchio came about.
Absolutely. He would have been cooler with Google eyes. At
Yes.
least in the live action version.
Anything would have been cool. Live action version.
This tangent brought to you by Log.
Get yours today. They're going fast.
Exactly. Pinocchio inside every log. You just have to find him. It's not like a box of cereal, you know.
It's like a
you don't
Wonka
just-
ticket.
Yeah, there you go.
A Wonka log.
1 in every 100 logs is haunted with the soul of a puppet.
That's not bad odds, though. 1 in 100.
Oof.
But then you've got the fox and the cat going to Maestro Fire Eater, and he's telling them that he's just decided to make a new Pinocchio.
Hopefully they won't notice, he says.
Yes. And then the police come back and tell him where Pinocchio is. So the fox and the cat go into the Forest of Enchantment to find him. And when they find him, they tell him that they know how he can bring Giulietta to life. There's a secret medicine that he can only find if he goes on a sleigh ride over 7 mountains and 7 valleys. And it's called the essence of back to life-odine. And Pinocchio says, I don't know if I can find that. And the cat says, I don't know if I can pronounce it.
It's kind of like unobtainium from Avatar.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of.
I forgot about that.
A bit too on the nose.
And that's where we get my favorite song. Yeah, Lightning Strike Me Down.
Yes, Pinocchio wonders if he can trust them, so they sing a song about how trustworthy they are. And every time the fox says, that's the truth, or may lightning strike me down, the cat gets hit by lightning instead.
Good comedy right there.
I loved at the end of the song, Pinocchio says, well, all right.
He is a trustworthy soul, but you know when someone says that they're it's the unvarnished truth that he can be trusted, I mean, you know, I'm sure that Pinocchio can sympathize with that.
I think I like the lyrics there because I didn't realize how many phrases had the word truth in it until that song came out. The unvarnished truth, the whole truth, the gospel truth. It was like 8 or 9 or 10 of them at least. I was like, wow, that's some good writing. Whoever you are, who wrote this.
But then before he can set out to find the essence of back to life-odine, they're blinded by a blue light that scares off the fox and the cat, and Pinocchio faints. And it turns out to be Lady Azura, who apparently planted the tree that Pinocchio came from.
Oh, I missed that part.
And another touch that I liked was, like, this is obviously the Blue Fairy, or let's see what, I can't remember her exact name in the book. I think it's like
Turquoise fairies?
Fairy with turquoise hair.
Something like that.
Or the lady with turquoise hair, something like that. But it's the blue fairy. But in the book, she has a poodle, like a poodle person,
Oh,
sort of assistant thing. And this version has a monkey and a poodle as her assistants, which I don't think there was a monkey involved with the fairy. Like there's a monkey in the town where Pinocchio is jailed. I think that the judge was either a monkey or a gorilla. It's been a while since I read the book, but there was a monkey in the town, and I thought that was a neat touch that they actually included the poodle assistant, because I think I've only ever seen that in one other version of Pinocchio. So Pinocchio tries to explain his actions, telling them about Giulietta, and eventually just starts lying about everything, which causes his nose to grow, and then when he tells the truth, it goes back to normal. And Azura tells him that he's not a bad boy, only foolish. And then she sings a song about how the only gift he really needs to give Geppetto is his love.
And that's free.
And then she tells Pinocchio that if he behaves, Giulietta might come to life. So he leaves her with Lady Azura, and the cricket goes with him to make sure he stays out of trouble. And meanwhile, the Maestro's plan to replace Pinocchio with a fake has failed, so he throws him out the window. But apparently he did such a good job replicating Pinocchio that when Geppetto comes by searching for him, he thinks Pinocchio is dead. So he takes him home to sing sadly to his corpse.
That was a sad song there.
It was a very sad song.
It was, but I was still laughing about him just taking home this dead fake Pinocchio and singing to it.
Oh boy. I wonder if it's because I guess it's too dark, but I wonder if he would have cremated.
Well, he's not a rich man, so he could have burned him on the fire and he probably would have
Yeah.
burned for quite a while.
There you go. And make some use of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, a dead Pinocchio is still what he originally was planning on carving anyway, so he's just a puppet now. You
Doesn't
can
talk
put him on a
back.
shelf.
Yeah. He can sell him back to Master
Cherry.
Cherry.
It's like I fixed your problem. Here you go.
Exactly.
It's not haunted anymore.
So here's a question, and I guess they never really say 100%, but I was curious, maybe I missed it. Because like things that happen towards the end, they talk about more adventures that Pinocchio has. Was like this sort of, in theory, like shortly after Geppetto carved him?
I
Like
think
say
so.
within like months or days?
That's how I took it.
Yeah.
Not very long after he came to life.
Right.
Because most of the stuff that was from the book is what happened soon after he was carved. Like getting tricked by the fox and the cat into planting the
Mhm.
coins. Like that happened not long after he was sent out into the world on his first adventure or whatever, trying to go to school and then skipping school. So I think this is supposed to take place soon after he was carved.
I think the only thing that's confusing is like in the beginning when he sees snow for the first time and, wants to know what Christmas is. Like it seems to imply that he's he hasn't been alive from the previous Christmas, so he doesn't know that. But it seems to imply that he's been alive for like at least a good couple months at least. So that's the only thing that's kind of threw me off.
Yeah, I think they imply that he's been around a little while longer than you
Yeah.
would normally expect,
Hmm.
but he's still not that old.
So if we looked at the rings of his trunk, there would only be maybe like half a ring or something.
Cut him in half and find out.
I guess I guess that's what a dissection is there.
Yeah, there
Dissection.
you go. Hey, Pinocchio, take off your hair for a second. We're going to see how old you are.
If he's sick, does he go to a tree doctor or a carpenter?
Well, at one point, someone refers to him as like a termite infested something or another.
Oh yeah.
I think he's technically supposed to be sick in the scene where he is taken back to the fairy's cottage, which is sort of this scene where the fairies picked him up. But I don't think the cricket was the doctor. I think it was a different doctor. In this version, they have the cricket be the doctor. But this whole scene is where everything went off in its own direction. Because up until this point, I was like, they're doing a pretty good job of just taking scenes from the book and making them Christmas themed. And at this point, like, not that it goes off the rails, but in terms of being faithful to the book, this is where it goes off the rails. Because when Pinocchio leaves, he runs into the fox and cat again, and they tell him that he needs to go see Santa. He's got they have this whole plan to get him to be sold to a duke who needs a present to give his children. So they trick him into going on this carriage, which they say that he's going to be going to the North Pole to see Santa. And they have this whole like I had looked down for a minute to type up my notes and then I look up again and he's dancing with Santa. Apparently this was a dream sequence or a fantasy sequence because they just stopped the movie to do a song about dancing or whatever.
That's the jiggling feet song or whatever it's called.
I don't know. It was
Yeah, I think it's
strange.
just called dancing actually. Yeah.
But then that ended. So then I was like, oh, okay, there's not really a Santa, except there was later. So he goes with this carriage driver. he gets sold to this Duke. And the Duke obviously doesn't spend much time with his kids because his line made me laugh. I've got 3 whole wonderful minutes to spend with you.
And the kids are basically kind of adults to start with.
So then the kids open the present. It's Pinocchio, and he chews the Duke out about spending time with his kids. And he sings a song about how he should show them his love or whatever. And he convinces him to stay home with his kids for Christmas. It's like it took just a minute of this puppet singing at him. And he says,
Nope.
it took a puppet to show me what Christmas really is.
A puppet who never knew about Christmas until half an hour ago. That is pretty persuasive.
Well, I mean, if you had a singing puppet at you, or puppet singing at you about the ins and outs of being a good dad, I would probably change my ways pretty quick too.
There you go. We
I
have more singing
suppose.
puppets in the world.
But then this is where you actually get Santa because Pinocchio doesn't know how he's going to get home, but suddenly Santa is there. Okay.
Santa's a part-time Uber driver.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's like Benny from Roger Rabbit. Just stick out
Oh,
your
yeah, yeah.
thumb, and he'll
And
be
he
there.
shows up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's reunited with Pinocchio, and Pinocchio tells him that his Christmas present is that he promises to go to school and always obey him and be a good boy.
Nice.
The bare minimum.
We'll start with that.
I guess so. That's true.
Gotta start somewhere.
If you've never given the bare minimum, then I guess that is an upgrade.
Exactly.
But then you have Lady Azure arriving with a now sentient Julieta, and they all sit down to Christmas breakfast, which is just oatmeal.
It's Christmas oatmeal.
It makes a difference. There's extra cinnamon.
And then for some reason, Pinocchio asks Lady Azure if she can see the future and wonders if he'll always be good. And then she tells Pinocchio that he may be led astray again in the future, and we see scenes from the book like being transformed into a donkey and escaping Monstro.
Monstro, yeah.
And then she says, as long as he stays on the path of being a good boy, he will someday get the reward of becoming a real boy. And then Geppetto says something like, you shouldn't worry about the future. They should just live one day at a time. And then they toast to Christmas. The end. But I was wondering, like, why does Pinocchio get the promise of someday becoming a real boy? But what about Julieta? Like, she's alive now. Shouldn't she also
Maybe
work
she doesn't want to be a
towards
real girl.
humanity?
She kind of already looked real.
Oh, she was like an actual human girl.
She kind of looked like it.
I figured she was just a puppet still, except alive. Okay,
These are the
maybe.
questions.
I wonder why she got that and Pinocchio has to work for it.
Because when he's good, he's very good, but when he's
Yes.
bad,
He's very, very bad. Julieta was just good all around.
yeah. I mean, she'd been alive for like 2 minutes, but that whatever.
But they were like 2 really good minutes.
Exactly. Well, and she was a bear, and then she became a young lady, and then she was going to be a wise man. So, I mean, she'd been through a lot, let's be honest.
Exactly.
She escaped the horrible fate of becoming a fat bald man.
That was a really good line. I don't want you to be a, fat, bearded, bald, wise man.
I guess a fat bald man. I'm sure there's some people said that.
Anyway, that's the end of Pinocchio's Christmas. It was entertaining for what it was. Like I said, I don't think it'll be on my regular rewatch list, but I was amused by a lot of it, especially the cat.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, again, like I could rewatch it, but it's not something I'd like go out of my way to rewatch. I did enjoy all the songs. The pacing kind of went up and down. But I did like the characters. I liked the voice acting. Alan King was great as Master Fire Eater or whatever his name is. I love the cat and Jiminy Cricket. Well, not Jiminy Cricket, whatever his name was in this version.
I think it was just the cricket,
The
which
cricket.
I think that's what he is in the book too.
Cricket, comma, the.
Yeah. Was there, like you mentioned, Alan King, was there anybody that you really recognized from the cast? Because there wasn't for me.
There's Alan King. He was the only one I knew. The rest, I think, were just regular voice actors.
I wondered because I looked them all up and I recognized some things like they were in other Rankin Bass
Yeah.
specials, but there was nobody that really stood out as like, oh yeah, I know them from this thing.
I haven't seen a lot of Rankin Bass stuff, but it seems to me like they usually have like one really famous person and the rest are like regular voice actors. So like, you have Fred Astaire in one version and um other examples that I'm forgetting at the time. But so I guess Alan King was probably the famous one for this version.
Okay.
Quite possibly. The voice there was a lot of voices that sounded familiar.
Mhm.
But I think it's just more from other Rankin Bass
Yeah.
stuff.
Probably.
Like the cat, I could have sworn was like a Harley Quinn type voice,
Oh.
and
Mhm.
her last thing acting was this. So there's no way that she could have done voice work in the mid '90s.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, most of the cast doesn't even have a Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked up the cat. Pat Bright was the person who played her, and she does not have a very long IMDb page,
No, not
and
at
it looks
all.
like it's mostly voice work.
And that's a lot of those people, I think, like the ones that
Mhm.
did voice work at that point, like that was their main thing.
Yeah. Rankin Bass has a pretty interesting history, I think. I don't know
Yeah.
much about it myself.
They did a lot more stuff than I thought they did. Like I
Mhm.
knew that they did all the Christmas stuff, and there was other. You can obviously pick
Yeah.
out a Rankin Bass like the stop motion,
Mhm.
but they did a lot of stuff like
Mhm.
cartoon and stop motion
Yeah.
in the mid-century. So
Mhm.
They kind of got forgotten, you feel.
Yeah, I just did their version of Wind in the Willows a few months ago, which was not stop motion. That was interesting.
I always wanted to see Mad Monster Party.
I've never seen that one.
well, John, TYTD just did a review of that.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it looks kind of fun.
Which one, Mad Monster Party?
hmm
Yeah.
It's all the classic Universal monsters. Obviously not in classic
Yeah.
Universal monster form, but kind of in that realm.
But it has Boris Karloff as a voice, so that seems interesting.
Well, I mean, he did the Grinch, so
Oh,
I mean,
Grinch,
it's kind of
yeah.
in that realm. He kind of did everything back in that time and place.
Well, I think that's probably all we have to say about Pinocchio's Christmas. It's better than I expected, but worse than Nicki expected. So do with that as what you will. I'm sure we'll be back next year for more podcasts. But until then, do you want to let people know where they can find you if they'd like more from you, Mark?
Sure. Thanks again for having me. Like always, you can find me on my blogs. I have two, The Animation Commendation at theanimationcommendation.com. I post animated film reviews, top 13 lists, and I host my own animation-themed Who Wants to Be a Millionaire game show there. And I have finished 10 seasons there, so you can check that out. And my other blog is My Live Action Disney Project at myliveactiondisneyproject.com, where I'm trying to watch and review every single theatrically released Disney film ever made. And I'm still doing that, so check me out there. Thanks.
And Nikki?
You can find me on YouTube at Trivial Theater. I do random, obscure, and straight up bad movies. I just got done doing, back in October, I did a bunch of Halloween reviews on different movies that I really enjoyed. As of now, I'm doing short form riffing of PSAs and instructional videos of various natures with friends of the channel as well as other YouTube creators. So stop by and see what's new there. I've guaranteed to have some fun stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll see you next year for more fun stuff here.
That's a hope.
Or even sooner, wink wink.
Thanks for listening to Every Version Ever. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow my co-hosts as well. My link tree and all of our links will be in the description below. If you want more of my content, all my podcasts are available on YouTube as well as most podcast platforms. If you enjoyed this show, check out one of the other podcasts or check out my Patreon for bonus and extended episodes you won't find anywhere else. We'll be back soon with another brand new episode, so thanks for listening and we'll see you next time.